They say that vampires don't exist, but honestly, I'm not too sure that that's true because everywhere I look, I see a vampire. An obvious example of this is this new phenomena on the internet now. It's called OnlyFans. Have you heard of OnlyFans? It's where these young women, typically in their 20s, will post pictures of themselves online in, risque clothing or no clothing at all sometimes. And then they're charging men $20 a month, $30 a month for access to this content. And then a lot of these girls end up making millions of dollars even a month. Is that not a vampire? Another example that comes to mind is social media itself. How many times have you scrolled through something like Twitter and you see things that are intentionally put in front of you to make you mad or to get a reaction out of you, but it adds nothing to your life? It doesn't make your life any better at all. It just sort of extracts that emotion out of you. When I was a kid, there was this movie that came out. It's called Monsters, Inc. And in Monsters, Inc., you had this monster world filled with monsters. And the way that they would generate electricity is they would go into the human world at night, into the bedroom of children, scare kids, and then harness that fear as energy and use it as electricity back at home at the monster world. And then later on in the movie, at the end of the movie, the monsters realize that if they make the kids laugh instead of making them scared, that they could also harness energy and use that as electricity. But these social media platforms, they don't care. They don't discriminate whether it's fear or whether it's laughter. No matter what emotion they can kind of invoke in you to get you staying on that platform as long as possible so that they could make more money off of your attention, they will use against you. And then you're left day in, day out, wasting so much time on this platform. There's situations in life where things can be a win-win, where things can benefit mutual parties. I'll give you an example. If you're a farmer and you grow healthy food and you sell healthy food, you benefit by selling the healthy food. You can make the money. And then the person who gets sold the healthy food benefits because they now can live a healthy life and they can have healthy food. Now, if you contrast that with something like fast food, something like McDonald's, they're completely benefiting off you. Did you know that McDonald's has these food engineers that chemically design the food to be as addictive as possible while making it unhealthy, so you ruin your health buying it? That's a win-lose situation. And these win-lose situations have become so prevalent everywhere, and they've become things that we don't notice as much. There's a saying in poker. In poker, they say, if you don't know who the sucker in the room is, it's you. And that's true. If you're consuming content, if you're engaging in the world, and you're not cognizant of the ways that people might be trying to take advantage of you and try to profit off of you at your expense, then you're the sucker in the room. And this isn't just with money. It's with our time. It's with our energy. They even decide what thoughts go into your head. So when you pick up your phone, the subscription feed is kind of dead. Most people kind of look through recommendations. Same on Facebook, same on X, same on all of these. You have things that are put in front of you that you didn't choose to see, but you're seeing them. So they can choose what thoughts you have. They can choose what topic is going to hook you in as much as possible. And it's typically this flavor of the month thing, where every single month it's something new. There's this new drama or new scandal or new thing in the news or new thing in politics that you come and you see, and it titillates you. And then it's gone, and then there's the next one, and then it's gone, and there's the next one, and it's gone. And it's this constant treadmill of topics and things that come in, waste your time, leave, and then they put in another one. They control your thoughts, and they keep you on perpetually. Of course, this applies to things like personal relationships, but that's a little bit easier to spot. It's these more hidden ones that are a bit more difficult. All of these social media companies, they hire people and they pay them tons of money every single year to figure out, okay, how can I keep this person addicted? How can I waste as much of this person's time as possible? And we kind of just live this way every single day. And we might know somewhere deep down, like, okay, this is bad, but we just keep doing it just because we're in a habit. And then there's the habit formation. It's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. And so what is there to do about this? It's actually kind of like a fish. If you're a fisherman and you throw your line into the lake, you might catch a fish because fish are stupid. They see the food. They're not even really thinking about the hook. They don't know that they're the sucker in the room. They bite and they take the bait. It's literally called clickbait. And then the fisherman reels in the fish. And then the fisherman might take the fish and throw it back into the lake because he's just fishing for sport. And he casts his line again. And guess what? The same exact fish bites again and gets reeled in again. Is that not us? Is that not what happens to us? Now, what's the practical solution? It's the same practical solution I give in so many of my videos. Prayer, fasting, going to church, going outside without your phone. And it's a constant struggle because a lot of us, we have to use these devices. We have to be plugged in order to function in our lives. But, there is sometimes I'll talk about this topic with other people. And a lot of people have practical advice. They'll say, oh, get an ad blocker. And that's true, by the way, get an ad blocker. Or there are these add-ons that kind of block the feed. So it's only the search bar on these social media platforms. And while all of those things are good, you can so easily disable those. I don't think it's sufficient enough of a solution. Some people might say things like, yeah, keep your phone away from you while you go to bed. But then if you really want your phone, you're just going to get up and grab it. So I think these things are really just superficial solutions. The real solution is we have to go and look at the root. And what the root problem is for most of these people, it's this catch-22, where it's so much easier to avoid these temptations. When our lives are filled with meaning, we have meaningful relationships and we have meaningful work. An example that comes to mind is the Amish. You take a look at the Amish, they have a tight-knit community. People know each other well. People have the same values, and they're dependent on each other in their community, and there's not as much of a separation between their relationships and their work. And they don't use any of this sort of technology. And, it's been shown that the Amish are some of the happiest people in America. But what if you're not Amish? You have the situation where if you don't have meaningful work and meaningful relationships in your life, now there's a void. The moment there's a void, that's when you start filling it in with these things. Video games can be an example of this too. Some video games are designed to be just low quality, but extend for so many hundreds of hours. A lot of these online games or a lot of these like super long RPGs that extend for hundreds, if not thousands of hours, just on this treadmill to keep you hooked. But they don't add anything into your life. It's slop. Have you ever heard of this phrase called slop content? And that's the way that things are starting to become more and more like. What slop content is it's content that just gets pushed out just to keep you hooked. It doesn't add anything to your life. There's no benefit to it. It's literally designed. Literally, its only intention is to keep you watching it. It's not to benefit you in any way. Slop content. And I feel like these platforms, all of them, are becoming so saturated with this noise and saturated with slop content, whereas maybe 10, 15 years ago, there was less of that, and content was a bit more authentic. Content was a bit more tailored towards, sharing something that is genuine. But now a lot of it is outrage. And what's even more insane? What's more insane is these algorithms, they don't care if you're happy or you're sad, you're angry while you're watching them. Like I said, all they care about is that you're engaged with it. So if someone engages with something they don't like, what does the algorithm do? It shows them more things that they don't like. That's the way it works. And then they watch more things they don't like, and then it shows them more things they don't like. And then it creates this cycle where you're constantly stressed out, you're constantly tense, you're constantly getting annoyed and aggravated, and there's a lot of these like low tier things that they use to trigger you, like the LGBTV plus situation. A lot of that is pushed just because people engage with it, either negatively or positively, and it wastes your time. It keeps you on this treadmill. And then nothing actually happens. You've heard of the political activist who's a Twitter political activist, or ex-political activist, I should say, where they're constantly making these tweets about their little pet cause, whatever their pet cause of the month is, or of the week is. What? I don't want to say any topics. I don't want to get this video shadow banned. But then they feel like they're doing something. They feel like they're being productive. But nothing's really happening. And when you don't have this meaningful work and you don't have these meaningful relationships, You fill the void, and by filling the void, it doesn't actually feed the hunger. It's like the Samaritan woman in the Bible when Jesus says, if you drink of this water, you will thirst again. But if you drink of the water that I give you, then you will never thirst again. It's the same thing, where if you engage with this content, it's going to never fill you. You're always going to be addicted. You're always going to be hooked because it doesn't solve the root problem of not having God in your life, meaningful work and meaningful relationships. And it's easier said than done. I wish I could give you more concrete solutions. The best concrete solution I could give you is prayer. Prayer is the most practical solution. I heard Bishop Yusuf say this, and he's correct. Where people want to be like, oh, like that's not actually practical. That doesn't actually solve my problem. That's not true. Prayer is the most practical solution. And I found this to be the case in my life, where it's kind of this domino effect, where when you have prayer in your life and you're focused on prayer and it's a priority in your life, you will notice God starts to work in your life in ways you couldn't even anticipate.